I'm John Hayden, and let's queer up trans rights. House GOP advances Don't Say Trans bill, raising alarm over LGBTQ classroom censorship nationwide. A Republican-led House committee approved a controversial bill that could dramatically reshape how trans topics are taught in U.S. schools. The Stop the Sexualization of Children Act would bar federally funded schools from using resources deemed sexually oriented. The bill explicitly includes gender dysphoria or transgenderism under that definition, effectively restricting any classroom discussion of trans identity. Critics say the measure equates identity with sexuality and could erase trans students from educational spaces. California Representative Mark Takano, chair of the Congressional Equality Caucus, strongly condemns the bill. Free expression advocates are also raising red flags. The American Liberty Association warns the bill could hand politicians broad authority over school materials, potentially triggering a nationwide ban on LGBTQ-inclusive books and content. The Authors Guild has echoed similar concerns, calling the legislation part of a growing wave of censorship impacting educators, writers, and students. The bill now moves to the full House, where it is expected to pass. It's vile, but the House is where the firebrands get to have their say. And, you know, when they're in the majority, especially the Republicans at the moment, this is going to die in the Senate. So it's not a real threat per se, but the atmosphere that it is in, it says more about that, where we are and how we have to continually stay on guard.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it many times from this table before about protecting children, and that's how they guise it, right? Protecting children, but you're also not protecting queer children, right? So queer children don't count, because this bill, it doesn't protect any kids. It just erases them. You know, visibility is how you find out who you really are. You know, conversations are important. I mean, and this wants none of that, you know?
Well, as a teacher, having taught in the school system before, it's such a nothing burger, because teachers are not talking about this. All right. If you talk to any teacher, we are trying so hard to just get whatever subject material is going on. The kids that are coming into the classrooms are hungry. They have issues at home. We're social counselors. We're everything that we need to be to students. You know, we're not really talking to them about any of these issues in a broad sense. Now, if somebody came to a teacher and said, hey, I'm having these feelings, you know, and you refer them to the school counselor or something like that, but they're putting this out there to make it seem to Republican voters that we're just in the classroom saying, hey, you should try being trans. You know, that is not happening.
Yeah.
It was never happening. The drag queens are not coming into the school trying to get their dollars and death dropping and all that stuff. It's not happening. And if you don't believe me and you're somehow a Republican watching this, you know, ask a teacher friend, ask any teacher friend of yours, and you'll see that this is not the case. Another thing is that gender dysphoria is in the DSM. Okay, these are actual medical, you know, medical terminology.
Yeah.
So to ban something in a school that's actually real and that's in the medical, you know, in the DSM, that's ridiculous. Like, you know, why would you? I can understand banning something that's untrue.
Yeah.
But it's right there in front of you. So,
well, as a teacher, you get your curriculum very early. You know what you're going to be teaching for the whole year. It's not like a surprise to you, right? But if one of your kids that you love as a teacher, because the teachers that I know are part parents, right? Yeah. And they, you know what I mean? And they love these children genuinely. And a kid goes up to them and says, hey, I think I might be gay, right? That's a conversation that they want to have with you, the teacher. And they should be allowed to, and they're not.
Yeah.
But the teacher's still going to have it, to your point, you know?
Yeah, and also, I mean, the larger issue with that is that this is not a state issue. They have school boards, and like these are district issues. So anytime you see a state talking about what a school should and shouldn't be able to do, know that they're bypassing that for some other reason, some other political reason. Because, you know, in the village in New York, you know, maybe in some area, you know, you may have a much higher student population that has two parents or transgender parents or something. So to say that that's off the table in an area like that is just kind of ridiculous too.
Yeah.
So that's why it shouldn't even be up to the state. It's always the local.
And I just think a way to get these Republican congressmen's attention, take them out of Congress for a moment, have them attend a horse meat disco show.
Wow.
Wow. We knew he was going to incorporate
We knew
this.
that was coming. We just didn't know how.
Last story.
Wow. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight. I'm going to kill you, John.